So in this motion, there are some keywords that I will be explaining to you. The first one is about the primary and middle school. The primary and middle school we are talking about here is the students from the first grade of elementary school to the third year of senior high school. There will be no kindergarten in our implementation because in kindergarten it's still time to play. There are no evaluation on their competencies and intelligence. But in the primary school, we already have such things. And the second keyword is about the competency and intelligence. The competency and intelligence we're talking here will be about the based on score on necessary materials and their competency minimum criteria itself. And based on their age means that it is the status quo right now that is happening in our life right now. That the students are being grouped by their age, not by their competencies or their intelligence. And moving on to the urgency. The urgency is in the status quo right now. Everything is based on age, meaning that each class have their age. So if you are 15, you are in this class. If you are 16, you are in this class. And there is a problem here because there's a gap of intelligence between low performance students and high performance students, where these low performance students are the students that are not able to follow the materials fast enough as the high performance students. There will be a gap between the high and low because they do not have the same understanding and capabilities on absorbing these materials itself. So eventually, there is a discrimination in the status quo because the materials are being taught by the teacher that is generalized to a specific age. So this will eventually lead showing that the student is not good enough, or the student is not as smart as the other student and such. So moving on to the proposal. The proposal is that we want to abolish this primary and middle school grouping based on their age. Instead, we want to group them by competency and intelligence. And our goal here is that we want to adjust the complexities of materials based on the student's ability, because we believe that each students are capable enough in absorbing materials, but based on their capabilities in doing those. And in our stance is that we believe that no student is stupid, meaning that in our life, in our status quo, these students are only being thinking that they are stupid because they are not able to understand the materials as fast as the other students. But here, because they are being equalized based on their age, and we do not want those kind of things. So we believe that if we implement this kind of motion, the injustice in the status quo right now will be demolished. So the opposition side of the house might told you that we are the one being discriminated because we are discriminating them based on their competency and intelligence. But no, you have to understand here that we are only helping the students on how they are able to understand the lessons. Yet the opposition side of the house are the one that are being discriminated because they will eventually make it prominent, showing that these students are not capable enough, the students is not smart enough, or the students is way higher and better. So the discrimination will be there in the opposition side of the house. And moving on to the mechanism. The mechanism is that we will start from the first grade, meaning that we do not directly implement this kind of motion to all of the students. So the students that are already in the third grade of senior high school or second grade, they will continue their lessons as what they've already studied. But from the first grade, we will test them when they started the school. So when they started the school, we will test them whether they can actually skip class or they can stay in their class in the first grade to know their intelligence, defining whether they can skip or they have to stay. And then the questions will represent each class, meaning that if in the third grade we are learning biology about A, so in the questions itself will be question also about the biology. We will test based on the learnings at school itself to know whether the students are capable enough to understand the lessons or not. So if we already, the questions will include by multiple choice, essay make the to make us understand that the students are capable enough to follow the materials or they are not capable enough. So moving on to justification. Why is it okay for us to implement this kind of motion? So we have to understand that each student have different abilities in capabilities of learning and understanding their materials at class. So here we have to know that these students can't always be the same as other students. We have to understand that each individuals are different, whether they are in their capabilities of learning, their understanding, ma- in their mastering materials, and the government has a job where they have to live the education of the country, where they have to help to build a better generation in the future, and it has to start from the education itself, because the education is the first place where the students are being taught on about their lessons, and it is a contract between the government and the society itself to build to build a good generation and to build a good education for the students. And moving on to the effectivity here is that will it effectively bring justice to the status quo, uh, to the if we implement this kind of motion. In our side, we believe that it will bring justice. Why? Because we are helping the students to understand based on their capabilities of learning. Um, Yet, the opposition side of the house do not think of such things because they can eventually make the student get left behind, whether the low performance students or the high performance students, because the low performance students might have to follow the new materials that are being given every single time, or the high performance students that have to learn to repeat the same lesson when they've already understood the lessons before. And this will make the students waste time and money because the students have to learn it because the students gain no information, or they do not or they have to learn it again. So there's nothing that are being given. But in our side, we believe that every people will get their rights to study based on their intelligence. So they will have the rights to understand their lessons, what they are being taught. Yet in the opposite side of the house, they do not have such things because they will only make the students study, but they do not have the right. But their rights of getting new information in studying, in understanding, will not be there. But in our side, it will be shown. And secondly, will it be effective in helping the school building a better students in the future? In our side, we believe yes, it will. Why? Because this help the school to know the curriculum that is best to use for the students to understand. And they can choose the right teacher to teach each class. Meaning that if they are in the higher complexities, then they will choose a better teacher that can eventually teach these students in the higher complexities, in a higher standards, in a higher grades. And the opposition side of the house might tell you that we are the one wasting time and money, because the students have to repeat it again. But you have to understand that it is the same thing as the opposition. The opposition are also facing the same problem here, because they can eventually stay in class, meaning that they already lose information, they do not get anything, and then they have to lose money and time. But in our side, even though they waste some time and money, but they are gaining the information that they are needing. And about the socializing for students, they will eventually still socialize, because socializing can happen anytime and anywhere, not only at school. And with that, I close my case. Thank you.